Good Erev Shabbos, Parshas Ki Savo. As Moshe Rabbeinu is beginning to wind down his long swan song, his long speech to Bnei Yisrael, as they are about to enter the land of Israel, and the transition of leadership from Moshe to Yehoshua will be complete, he states the following to the people. V'lo nasan Hashem lachem leiv ladaz ve'nayim liros v'aznayim lishma. God has not given you the capacity to hear, to see, to understand. Anayom hazeh. Until this day. What has Hashem not given them the capacity to see? So Rashi says, lahakir chaste Hashem, to appreciate and acknowledge all the kindnesses that Hashem has done for Klal Yisrael. As Moshe Rabbeinu lays out in the next few psukim, all these years, Bnei Yisrael did not have the need to get new clothing. The clothing never wore out. They relied on Hashem for food, with the man, for water, with the be'er. Hashem provided them with everything. So what does Rashi mean? Hashem did not give you the capacity to appreciate and acknowledge all the chasadim that Hashem did. In fact, 40 years of a divine intervention should certainly accomplish that. However, this question of how to understand the pasuk really boils down to how to interpret the last three words of the pasuk. Ad hayom hazeh. Until this day. So does ad hayom hazeh mean ad va'ad bichlal? You haven't understood this up until now and including today. And it is a rebuke of Klal Yisrael. Or it is, you haven't understood this ad v'lo ad bichlal until this day. But now, today, you finally got it. So let's take a look at these two ways of understanding the pasuk, and both of these directions will be drawn out of Rashi as well. So Rashi says that they haven't had the ability to appreciate Hashem in the world. How is that at all understandable? Says Rashi, he assumes ad ve'ad bichlal. Up until today and including today, you haven't really understood been able to comprehend Hashem's presence in the world because of the fact that you have been reliant upon nisim, upon miracles. And now you are about to enter Eretz Yisrael. This is not a rebuke. This is a charge. This is a challenge. This is a warning that now you are going to have to put seed in the ground and water it and make the food grow. You will have to do all the personal initiative that is necessary in an agrarian culture, in an agrarian society, to provide for yourselves. And with that comes great danger. And the danger is to believe that I believe that it's all in my hands, that somehow Hashem has taken a back seat, that Hashem is not involved, his hashgacha, his presence, his guidance has been removed from the world. And so Hashem has not properly prepared you for this day. And so I am now giving you the warning, even though you will no longer have the ananei hakavod, even though you will no longer have the food and the water provided, don't slip into the illusion that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is absent from the world. And this, of course, is an important message for all of us as well, because we live in the here and now, in the three-dimensional world in which the strength of our hands seems to be the cause for our achievement or at times for our failure. But Moshe Rabbeinu reminds us that this is a struggle that we must continually engage in, to be able to see the Yad Hashem in our lives. And if we open our eyes and our hearts and our minds, it is there standing right before us to be able to see, to hear, and to understand. However, there's another approach to Rashi, and that is ad v'lo ad bichlal. Namely, you have not understood all of this until today, but now you finally get it. Says Rashi, Shamati, I once heard the following, says Rashi, that on this day, Moshe Rabbeinu, as it's recorded several psukim later, that Moshe Rabbeinu, vayichtov, he wrote down the Torah and he gave it to the Leviim. And the rest of Klal Yisrael were up in arms. And they said, how could you possibly give the Torah to the Leviim? It belongs to all of Klal Yisrael. And if you go down this path, Moshe, then somehow later on in history, the Leviim might claim sole proprietorship over the Torah. Yes, they are the teachers. And yes, they are the spiritual guides. So it does make sense that Moshe Rabbeinu would give them the Torah. Nevertheless, Bnei Yisrael complained that doing so, that sort of giving them the Torah and perhaps unintentionally implying that the Torah is within the charge of the Levium solely, we are upset and we protest that. We are the proprietors of the Torah. It is not relegated to the clergy class. It is not relegated to one or two individuals. And Moshe Rabbeinu, concludes Rashi, responded, now I know. Now I know Moshe had great nachas, had great simcha. Now I know you're Klal Yisrael. Now I know you're Am Yisrael. Now I know that you got it. In other words, for 40 years, the people were in the desert. For 40 years, they had gone through trials and tribulations. But Moshe, and they stayed sometimes better, sometimes worse, with their loyalty and fidelity to Hashem. But that's all about actions, causes and consequences. What are their aspirations? What are their goals? Where does Klal Yisrael see itself 10 years from now? They were standing at a job interview. And Moshe Rabbeinu says, now I see your aspirations. Now I see what you want in life. Now I see that it's in your kishkas that you want Devar Hashem. Up until now, Lo nasan Hashem lachem leiv ladas, einayim liros, eznayim lishma. You didn't have for these 40 years. But hadayom hazeh, until today. But now today, I see that you finally got it. You've internalized the message. And this is who you are. And that gave Moshe great simcha, great joy, and great nachas. And this, of course, is another important message. That in as much as our actions are important, quite concomitantly to that are our aspirations, our goals, our vision. Because ultimately, it is our aspirations, our goals, and our vision, that which will determine and define our actions. Actions absent a goal, actions absent a vision, an aspiration, will flitter away at some point. And so as we enter the time of Slichos and the time of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, it is most appropriate for us to consider and reconsider, what are my aspirations for myself, for my family, my spiritual aspirations? Is my goal in life simply to garner more physical sustenance so that I may live another day? Or is it deeper, more profound than that? Says Moshe Rabbeinu, I have great nachas. And he reminds Klal Yisrael for generations forward that the answer to that question, what are our aspirations, are what will give us nachas and nachas to Hashem. And finally, the third and final approach here is that Moshe Rabbeinu said, again, ad velo ad bichlal. Up until now, you didn't get it. But now I see that you finally understand it. It took 40 years of miracles, of learning, that you finally understand. You finally understand the depth of what it means to be the Kona Torah, acquiring the Torah, and to understand what it means to have a relationship with Hashem, and to understand what it means, the responsibilities of an Eved Hashem. And therefore, says Rashi, at this point, you are about to enter the land of Israel, because now you've grown up, now you've matured. As many of the Mefarshim point out, based on the Mishnah and Pirkei Avos, for 40 years, until a person reaches the age of 40, they cannot, for many people, they cannot fully appreciate and understand the Masorah, the teachings of their forebears. When a person reaches the age of 40 years of learning, 40 years of understanding, 40 years of comprehension, that's the age of Bina, of understanding. And so here, 40 years have passed, and they finally reached this age of understanding. And Moshe Rabbeinu says, now that you've reached the age of understanding, Hashem is going to hold you to a higher standard. You are now ra'ui to enter the land of Israel, which is full of potholes. And those potholes are mitzvahs and averas that, if not done properly, give us great reward. If not done properly, put us at great peril. It is a great zchus and a great challenge to live in the land of Israel with all its myriad of mitzvos. But you are now going to be held to a higher standard. You're no longer a kid. You're no longer immature. You are now ready. And this, of course, is a message as well. Sometimes it takes a long time to process, to understand, but we should never give up. And as we understand, we, like Hashem, must hold ourselves to a higher level, to a higher level of responsibility, a higher level of dignity, a higher level of honor. That is what Hashem expects of us, and that is what we, of course, should expect from ourselves. Good Shabbos.